It was a quiet Friday evening, and the sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting a warm amber glow through the curtains. The house felt unusually still. I was home alone for the weekend. My parents had taken a trip upstate to visit my aunt, and my younger brother Dylan was away on a school camping trip. For once, I had the whole house to myself, a rare moment of peace I had been looking forward to all week. I had planned the perfect evening. I ordered a large pepperoni pizza, curled up on the couch with a soft blanket, and turned on my favorite mystery series. The dog, a golden retriever named Max, laid by my feet, gently snoring. Everything was calm, almost too calm. I paused the show for a moment to grab a soda from the fridge when I heard it. 3 knocks. Loud and deliberate. Froze. Max lifted his head, ears perked. He didn't bark, just stared at the front door with a strange intensity. I wasn't expecting anyone. I hadn't invited any friends over, and my neighbors usually texted before coming by. The pizza had already been delivered an hour ago. I crept toward the front window and peeked through the blinds, half expecting to see a stranger or maybe someone from the neighborhood. But when I looked, there was no one. The porch light illuminated the steps, the bushes, even the welcome mat, but no one stood there. My heart pounded a little faster. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe the TV was too loud and I misheard something from the show. I shook off the nerves, walked back to the couch and pressed play. But I didn't even make it to the cushions when I heard it again. 3 knocks, this time louder. Max barked once and ran to the door. My chest tightened. I turned off the TV and tiptoed back to the window. I moved the curtain slowly and peered out again. Still no one. I considered calling my parents but didn't want to scare them. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe some kids from the neighborhood were playing ding-dong ditch. I opened the front door slowly, keeping Max by my side. There was no one on the porch. Just the faint sound of crickets in the distance and a cool breeze rustling the leaves. I stepped out and looked left and right. Nothing. No shadows, no footsteps on the sidewalk, no rustling in the bushes. I went back inside, locked the door, and double-checked the windows. Everything was secure. I returned to the couch, but this time I couldn't focus on the show. I turned the volume down and kept an ear out for any sound. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Max had settled down again, his head resting on his paws. I had almost convinced myself it was just a fluke when the doorbell rang. This time I jumped. Max leaped up, barking louder than before. I looked at the door, then at my phone. My hand trembled as I picked it up and called my best friend, Emily. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, everything okay?" she asked, hearing the panic in my voice. "I think someone's messing with me," I whispered. They knocked twice and now rang the bell, but every time I look, no one's there. "Want me to come over?" I hesitated. Emily only lived a 10-minute drive away. "Can you? I don't want to be alone." "I'll be there in 10, she said firmly. "Lock the doors. Stay put." I felt a little better after the call, but that still left me alone for 10 more minutes. I paced the living room, holding my phone like a shield. When the doorbell rang again, twice in a row, I froze. Then I heard a voice. "Jessica!" A familiar voice called out softly. I blinked. No one had called me by my full name in years. Only one person did that. I hurried back to the window and peered out for the 3rd time. This time there was someone there. Standing on the porch, hands in the pockets of a faded denim jacket, was a young man with tousled brown hair and sad eyes. I hadn't seen him in over a year. It was Jason Monroe, my ex-boyfriend. I hadn't spoken to him since our painful breakup last spring. It ended badly. Too many fights, too much miscommunication, and too many unresolved feelings. He had moved to another city to attend college, and I assumed I'd never see him again. My heart raced, not with fear this time but with confusion. What was he doing here? I opened the door cautiously, Max standing guard beside me. "Jason?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine. "Hey Jess, sorry for just showing up. I know this is weird." What are you doing here? I was driving through town. I wasn't sure if I should stop, but I don't know. I felt like I had to. I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to close the door, to avoid whatever emotions this visit might stir up. Another part of me, perhaps the bigger part, wanted answers. Come in, I said finally. But just for a minute. He stepped inside, and Max sniffed him curiously before backing off. Jason looked around the living room, the same one where we had spent countless evenings together watching movies and laughing. I'm not here to cause problems, he said gently. I've been thinking about you. A lot. I crossed my arms, unsure where this was going. Jason, we ended things for a reason. I know, he said. And I'm not here to undo that. It just changed. Being away made me realize how much I took for granted. I never got closure. And I guess in some weird way, I hoped maybe you didn't either. I sat down, still guarded. So you knocked 3 times and rang the bell because, what? You were scared. He smiled sheepishly. A little. I didn't know if you'd slam the door in my face. We talked for a while about where life had taken us, how things had changed. It wasn't like old times, not exactly, but it wasn't uncomfortable either. There was an honesty in his voice that hadn't been there before. Soon there was another knock at the door. Emily. I opened it to find her standing there with a pepper spray canister in her hand. Her eyes widened when she saw Jason. Seriously, she said, relaxing slightly. You made it sound like a horror movie. I laughed for the first time that evening. It kind of felt like one. Jason stood up. I should go. I didn't mean to stir anything up. Emily looked at me, silently asking if I was okay. He nodded. Jason walked toward the door, then turned. Thanks for not slamming the door. I'm glad I saw you. As he stepped outside, I followed him to the porch. The air was cooler now, and the streetlights had flickered on. Take care of yourself, Jason. You too, Jess. He walked down the steps and disappeared into the night. I watched until his car turned the corner and the taillights vanished. Inside, Emily flopped on the couch. Well, that was dramatic. Tell me about it, I muttered. We stayed up late, eating the last slices of pizza and binge-watching the show. But the whole time, my mind kept drifting back to the unexpected knock, the familiar voice, and the way my heart had raced. Not out of fear, but something else entirely. It wasn't closure, not exactly. But maybe it was the beginning of peace. Maybe even a new chapter. And all of it started with a knock I didn't expect.